But Google's one you've been talking about a lot, and it's recently gotten a lot of attention. It's funny. About a year ago, I couldn't say that. I would probably say the opposite, where everyone was counting it out, thought ChatGPT was going to take it over, and now it's just on an absolute tear. And you've been tweeting about it a ton recently, and you actually did a full podcast on it on Limitless, which was great. Walk me through your thesis on why you think Google is such an important company as this sort of like AI dominance
Sure.
takes over.
Sure. So let me start by saying I was the biggest Google hater there is. I hated how bureaucratic the company had become. They weren't really shipping interesting products. And for me, being a retail consumer, they didn't nail that either, right?
Yeah.
And then they launched their first AI product. It was called Bard, B-A-R-D. Do you remember that,
Yeah.
Kyle? And one of its specific capabilities was you could write some text to it, and it would create an image for whatever text you'd written. And someone asked it to create an image of the American forefathers, and it created a very ethnically inaccurate picture of who the American forefathers were. And everyone made a laughing stock out of Google. Their stock tanked, and Sundar was on the verge of being fired. But they turned it around really quickly after that. Sergey Brin, one of the co-founders and former management operative at Google, stepped in and said, I'm taking over the AI side of things. And since then, they've been on an uphill kind of like transcendence into what they've produced. So that brings me to my point around why Google is the best AI company to invest in right now at a very hefty price, by the way. I think it's like, what, $3.7 trillion? I think it's like the second or third most valuable company in the world right now. They just beat Microsoft or something like that. So here's a basic thesis. It is the only vertical integrated AI company that is in existence right now. What do I mean by that? Okay.
That was my question.
Okay. So what the hell do I mean by that, right? I've just, said a bunch of words. Okay. So if you think of AI as like an entire stack of things that you need to make the AI thing, you've got the hardware that you need to use to train the AI model. You've got the data that you need to feed into the hardware to train the AI model. You have the compute that you need to kind of mix in with all of this. Then you have the AI model itself. Then you need customers to send the AI model to. And then on top of all of that, you have apps, you have applications, right? You have distribution. Google dominates in all of those things. Typically, when you have a number one leading company in a specific technology stack, they dominate in one area. It's apps. ChatGPT is really good for that, for OpenAI. Or you operate in hardware only. That's Nvidia. They got all these GPUs. Google dominates in all of those things, and they have a ready-to-go customer base that they can kind of ship these things to, right? So let's look at some of the most valuable companies in AI, right? Like just within each parts of those stacks. Nvidia, richest company in the world right now. It's at what, like 4-point-something trillion dollars, right? Huge.
Yep.
Why are they valued that much? Because they're selling the picks and shovels for people to create their AI models. They're selling the hardware. Okay, cool. That's great. GPUs. They have zero competition, Kyle. They've been in this game for a while. Except Google stepped in with their version of GPUs called TPUs, and they happen to be 40 to 60% cheaper, but produce 1.5 to 2 times more performance per dollar spent on GPUs. Ooh, now we have a competitor. But no one really believed it, Carl, until they released Gemini 3, which broke every single benchmark and is like leagues ahead of any other model. In fact, Sam Altman this week went on record in an internal memo saying to his company, hey, we're going to face a few economic headwinds because Google's model is just that good, right? So people didn't take them seriously as a hardware proponent. Now you can compare Google to Nvidia. Okay, what does that valuation become just from a hardware perspective? But Google has all these other advantages. They have apps. Everyone uses Gmail. Everyone, or majority of the world, has an Android device. Everyone uses kind of like all the G Suite set of tools, Google Docs, Excel. They can just plug their AI model into all of these different things. And suddenly you have not only an available AI model, you have a productive AI model that people want to use and can use. And then the third and final thing, Kyle, and there's so much more, but I'm not going to, harp on about it. They have all the data. Mm-hmm. What's the number one thing you need to make your model better over time? Assuming you can buy all the compute in the world, assuming you have all the GPUs.
It's
It's
data.
data. It's data.
It's data.
And Google has the most data. It's the number one product that they still have, Google Search. Everyone thought that ChatGPT was going to kill Google Search. Those stats have reversed now because Gemini has just been integrated into Google Search, and it is so, so good.
Mm-hmm. So lots to unpack there. When you think of Google, in the way you sort of think about valuing them, do you think of them as a competitor to Nvidia? Like they've historically used these TPUs just internally so that they can,
Yep.
as you said, create better products, create better models. But now I think recently, was it this week, there's supposed to be an announcement between Meta and Google. And I think it's of the tune of billions of dollars to buy those TPUs. Do you think Google's actually going to go and start competing with Nvidia and selling TPUs globally?
Yeah, I didn't buy it either, but too many news stories have leaked by the same media publisher the information, which means that they have an insider
Yeah.
that tells me that they're going to go head to head with Nvidia. And why wouldn't they? Because they tried to with Google Cloud against AWS, and they lost it, and they're so bitter about it. So they now want to be ahead of Amazon with AWS, and they want to be the number one GPU provider. And so, yeah, I think they are going to go head to head with NVIDIA because it is a very profitable business. So what's the evidence? You mentioned that this week there are rumors that they're going to sign a deal where Meta buys billions and billions of dollars of Google TPUs. Let's wait to see if that's confirmed, but that's one bit of news. News that broke last month was Anthropic, which, by the way, Google owns 14% of, is set to access 1 million of their TPUs next year to train Claude 5 and 6. Okay. And then another bit of evidence, which also dropped this week, Kyle, is there's a NATO deal that's on the line here for, I think, 10 to $50 billion worth of Google TPUs. So as you can tell, like, I don't think Google's going to turn down $150 billion worth of TPUs to add to the balance sheet and give them more capex exposure to train better AI models and buy more TPUs. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, in my opinion, at this point, that they will sell TPUs. I will say that TPUs are kind of limited versus GPUs because they're kind of constricted towards specific use cases. So I don't think NVIDIA and them will compete directly, but there'll be some overlap.
So, well, actually, let's talk about that with Nvidia just for a quick second, and I think we'll get back to Google. Is this a bearish thing for Nvidia, or is this actually just a bullish thing overall? Because it just means that the market can continue to expand. Because as you said, Nvidia's sold out, right? Like they can't make enough GPUs. Now you've got Google over here making TPUs, potentially stealing some share away from Nvidia, or are they really stealing share away? And it's just, they're helping to push this thing forward and create ultimately better products, which is just going to drive more demand. How do you think of it?
Bearish short term for Nvidia
Okay.
because people are just going to be emotional and speculative about it and dump the stock because they believe like Google's going to replace Nvidia. Long term, extremely bullish, both of those companies. In fact, I bought some Nvidia this morning because, God, what is the name of the paradox? I'm forgetting that. Whatever. I'm going to describe it to you. Basically, the assumption is if you oversupply the market with GPUs or TPUs or infrastructure, demand just won't be there. But what is often found is with any new technological revolution, demand doesn't just increase, it multiplies massively. So if there's more available compute, I forget the name of it. It's annoying
it's killing me. I wish there was an AI I could just talk to and ask it right now, or someone that was.
Well, I'm going to ask for it right now as you respond. Yeah, but basically that's my response. Yeah.
Okay. That was sort of my original thinking too when I saw this, and I'm like, oh, Nvidia down 20%. A lot of this is because of this. It's down, I think, 4% today. That's generally markets just getting a little bit too emotionally biased here. I'm pretty sure that this is a net positive for the industry. Did you come up with the word before I continue my question?
No, I did not. I was listening to you. I wanted to be focused on you.
Okay. I'm sure someone in the comments will help us out. Back to Google then. So this is almost a $4 trillion company. Maybe I'm not sure if it is 4 trillion at the moment as we're talking here, but it's getting close anyway. How high is this thing going to go? Like, where do you think this can go here? And is it valued based off of the amount of TPUs it can sell? Is it the products it's going to create? I guess it's probably just a combination of them. Like, what is the real upside here for Google as a $4 trillion company already? The highest I think Nvidia got to was around 5 trillion. is this thing going to 10? Is it going to 20? Like, what is your kind of assumption on where this goes in the next, I don't know, year, 2 years, 3 years? And what's the reason for it?
All of those figures you just mentioned, 5, 10, 15, I believe it'll hit. Over what timeline, I do not
Who
know.
knows? Yeah.
But the confidence that I have that it will reach it is because if you speak to anyone about the heights that AI can reach when it comes to transforming the way that we interact with things online and in physical reality, once you've got robots like Tesla's Optimus and stuff, humanoid robots coming out, people can't even fathom what that looks like, Kyle. That's the most bullish thing, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I might sound like a crazy crypto guy, right? But I'm not talking about a white paper. I'm
Right.
talking about the biggest companies in the world who have been cash flow positive for decades that aren't spending hundreds of billions of dollars because they're idiots, right? I'm talking about the finest entrepreneurs of our time committing that time and effort to this and saying that, there's a lot of demand for these things. This thing is going to go way, way higher, right? Let me ask you, let me respond with another question. How much do you think the company that finds the cure for cancer should be worth?
Yeah. I actually, I was listening to a Jordy Visser podcast a couple weeks ago, and he's like, you should put in ChatGPT and ask it, what do you think the stock market will be worth if we get a cure for cancer? And I did it the other day while I was at the gym. And so my answer is a lot. I don't know what the number is, but it's definitely a lot. That's for sure.
Yes, exactly. And so the point I'm making is I think we have ways to go. I think we're going to enter multi-decatrillion dollar companies, which again sounds insane because billionaires are billionaires and we don't really have trillionaires right now. But eventually when we do have trillionaires, that'll become a normal thing, right? And so then people might respond and say, well, dude, you're just listing a bunch of numbers. Well, it's hard to measure the economic output that would come directly from a technology like AI. But because it's both such a good generalized technology as well as a hyper specialized technology, and it can feed between both of these things via data transfer to become a better product and iterate better than humans can. That's why it's hard to value, right? What happens if you 100x human economic output over the next 2 decades? How much would a company that supplies those models, that supplies that AGI worth? How much is that worth? It's hard to value, right? Google right now is a company that is known for search, advertising, Android, so mobile operating software, some devices as well, and some infrastructure, Google Cloud, TPUs. What happens when it's the company known for rejuvenating or underpinning a lot of medical progress over the next decade? What happens when it is the number one model used for manufacturing efficiency across all factories and supply chains? That's hard to kind of picture.
So is your assumption that as we get the breakthroughs that come with AI, which as you just said, could be in healthcare, could be in manufacturing, could be in, it's going to be in so many different things. It's actually probably not healthcare companies that are going to be the winner of that. Maybe it's Google. Is that what you're saying here?
Right now, yes, but I don't say that with a high percentage of confidence over that multi-decade timeline. And the reason why I say that is there are going to be so many inefficiencies and arbitration opportunities that happen between here and then. So all you can do is kind of keep your ear to the ground and see which companies are undervalued right now and which companies have the best shots to make it. And in my opinion, right now, as I'm sitting in front of you, it's Google and Tesla that have the highest likelihood to pull this off. Microsoft from the enterprise side has a good chunk right now, but it's Google and Tesla right now.
Want to stay ahead of the biggest technological shift in history? Subscribe now to get insights straight from the sharpest minds in tech and finance. Quick legal note, this show's for educational purposes only. Nothing here is financial advice. Investing always carries risk. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next one.